It's 9:07 p.m. A crash victim calls your firm. It goes to voicemail. They fill out your website form. They wait. At 9:22, they're booked with the billboard firm. Not because that firm is better in court, because it texted back instantly. You didn't lose the case in litigation. You lost it in intake. AI can plug that leak, or can quietly create new ones if you implement it wrong. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you the intake moments where AI creates the biggest operational advantage. And I'm going to show you the one moment where you should be most skeptical before you let AI touch it. No hype, no magic box. We're going to walk the intake journey the way it actually happens. We'll talk about where AI helps, where it doesn't, and how to evaluate it without risking ethics, client trust, or your team's sanity. Think about intake as a chain. The chain breaks in predictable places. A lead comes in, a call, a form, a chat message. The most common failure is after hours. The injury lands. Nobody sees it until morning. The client keeps shopping. AI can help here, but only if it behaves like a reliable front desk, not like a junior associate. Then there's response speed. Silence is a decision. Clients interpret it as disinterest or disorganization or both. A simple acknowledgement can change the outcome. We received your message. Here's what happens next. If this is urgent, call this number. That's not legal advice. That's process. Then you hit basic qualification. This is where firms either waste time on bad leads or they scare off good ones. The goal is not to interrogate. The goal is to collect the essentials. Date, location, parties, injuries, current representation, how they found you. If AI is involved, it needs to ask like a professional intake specialist. Short questions, plain language, no assumptions, and no pressure. Then, scheduling and handoff. Even when the lead is good, firms lose it here. The client is ready, the calendar is not. Or the wrong person gets the lead, or it sits in the wrong inbox. AI can help route. It can offer available times. It can confirm. It can push the right summary to the right staff member, but only if the handoff is clean. And only if a human can take over fast when the situation is messy. Then, consistency and documentation. This is the unglamorous part that drives outcomes. Same required questions, same notes. Fewer, we forgot to ask, moments. Fewer conflicts missed because someone was rushing. AI can help standardize. It can produce a usable intake note. It can tag missing fields. It can keep the record legible. Now, across all of those moments, you should judge. AI help the same way you judge any operational change. Does it work every time? Or does it feel in edge cases you'll only notice after damage is done? Does the client feel understood? Or do they feel like they're talking to a wall? Can a human take over immediately when needed? And does the interaction stay professional in tone, privacy, and accuracy? Hold on to that, because AI only helps when it's applied to the right moment. And there's one intake area where firms get burned the most by automation, even when everything looks fine on paper. Before we get there, here's how to evaluate this without turning your intake into a science project. Pick one intake step. One, not your whole pipeline, not every channel. One step where you're currently making cases. A common choice is after hours first response, because it's measurable and because the alternative is usually silence. Define success in numbers and in experience. Numbers are straightforward. Response within a set number of minutes. A consistent set of required questions asked. A certain percentage of qualified consults booked. Experience matters too. Fewer confused replies. Fewer angry replies. Fewer stop texting me moments. More thank you and what's next. Then design the human escalation path before you launch. This is where most implementations fail. You need explicit triggers that force a handoff. If the person asks, "Do I have a case?" That's a handoff. If they describe facts that sound like a conflict, that's a handoff. If they're highly emotional, threatening self-harm, or describing immediate danger, that's a handoff. If the facts are unclear and the system starts guessing, that's a handoff. And you need to decide who gets it, how they get it, and how fast they respond. Now test in a controlled scope. Limit the hours, limit the channel, limit the case type. For example, after hours web forms for PI only, not criminal, not family, not everything at once. You want to see failure mode safely in a place where you can intervene. Then review the outcomes weekly. Listen to transcripts. Read the notes. Look for where clients drop off. Tighten the questions. Adjust tone. Update escalation rules. Treat it like any other intake script, because that's what it is, a script that runs at scale. Now, the skepticism checkpoint. The riskiest place to trust AI is anything that sounds like legal advice, anything that interprets facts into conclusions, anything that implies a promise, a likely outcome, a value, a timeline, or a strategy. Even if the language is subtle. If the system starts explaining the law, you're not improving intake, you're creating exposure. So the safe design is simple. AI captures information. It sets expectations about process. It routes to humans. It does not practice law. That's the fine line that protects conversion and protects trust. If you want to sanity check where your biggest leak is, leave a comment with one word: missed calls, slow follow-up, bad leads, or inconsistent screening. If you want, add your practice area, because the best use depends on what you've done. Here's the takeaway. The AI advantage in intake is faster first touch and more consistent screening when it's limited to capturing info, setting expectations, paying off cleanly. The downside is just as real. If AI starts interpreting, advising, or mishandling edge cases, it doesn't just hurt conversion. It damages trust, and it creates risks you didn't have before. So the safest next move is low risk and practical. Map your intake on one page. List every touch point from first contact to consult booked. Circle the one step where time is lost or consistency breaks. That circled step becomes your pilot. Define success, write escalation rules, test in a small scope, and expand only after it behaves predictably. You don't need to automate everything. You need to stop losing good cases to silence and inconsistency. Pick one intake moment. Keep a fast human handoff. Test it like you test any operational change. That's how you move from skepticism to trust without turning intake into a liability.